It is the 28th day of August 2023. Hello and welcome to the News International Edition. We are broadcasting to you live from our Vision Group headquarters here in Kampala, Uganda. I'm Emma Akwero. We start today from Sudan, where Sudanese Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan arrived in the coastal city of Port Sudan as the country reels from over 4 months of war with paramilitaries. Burhan made his first public foray in months earlier this week, having been cloistered within army headquarters in the capital, Khartoum, ever since the conflict erupted on April 15th. We have more.
Armed forces have been fending off an unceasing offensive on the headquarters by the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces led by Sudanese Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan's deputy turned rival Mohammed Hamdan Daglo. According to a statement from the ruling Sovereign Council, Burhan met with his deputy Malik Aga and other government officials who, like the United Nations, have relocated operations to Port Sudan, which has been spared the fierce fighting that has gripped other parts of the country. On Sunday, rockets fell on houses, killing 5 people. Burhan has been the de facto leader of Sudan since October 2021, when he, in collaboration with Daglo, led a coup that ousted civilian leaders from government and derailed a fragile transition to civilian rule. Videos of Burhan's first foray outside army headquarters were posted on Thursday, with captions indicating he was at the Wadi Seydna Air Base north of Khartoum. More footage was posted by the army on Friday, showing Burhan greeting troops, assuring them of impending victory, and visiting an army hospital in the city of Atbara, 300 kilometers northeast of Khartoum. While the capital's airport has been out of service since the conflict began, the airport in Port Sudan has remained operational for evacuation and relief flights, fueling speculation of an overseas trip for the army chief. Conservative estimates from the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project show that nearly 5,000 people have been killed in the conflict. The real figure is thought to be much higher, with many victims unable to reach health services, entire cities cut off from the world, and both sides refusing to report their fatalities. More than 4.6 million people have been displaced by the fighting, both across borders and within Sudan, where 6 million people are one step away from famine, according to the UN.
Now, thousands of people demonstrated in Niger in support of last month's coup, a few hours before the deadline given to France's ambassador to leave the country. Demonstrators gathered near the French military base in the capital, Niamey, some waving Nigerian or Russian flags, others with placards leading for the departure of the French troops.
Former colonial power France still has 1,500 soldiers based in Niger. They had been helping the deposed president Mohamed Bazoum in the fight against jihadist forces active there before military officers toppled him in the July 26th coup. The National Council for the Safeguard of the Homeland, led by General Abdurrahmane Tiani, has detained him and his family at the presidential palace. Sunday's rally started at dawn on a roundabout near the Niamey airport by the Nigerian air base, where the French force is located, as demonstrators answered an appeal from organizations backing the country's new rulers. The demonstration comes after a month of rising tensions and anti-France protests in Niger. On Friday, Niger's foreign ministry announced that French ambassador Sylvain Ite had 48 hours to leave, saying he had refused to meet with the new rulers and citing French government's actions that were contrary to the interests of Niger. Paris had rejected the demand, insisting the government of Bazoum that they had overthrown remained the legitimate authority. France has consistently backed calls by the Western African bloc ECOWAS for the reinstatement of President Bazoum. A hostile rally outside the French embassy on the 30th of July prompted Paris to organize the voluntary evacuation of its citizens. ECOWAS has also applied sanctions against the new regime and threatened to use military means to remove it if the new rulers do not hand back power to Bazoum.
Now, the leader of Libya's government has suspended his foreign minister after her Israeli counterpart announced he had held talks with her last week in Rome. Israel has normalized relations with some Arab countries in recent years, but Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's hardline government has come under intense criticism from Arab states because of surging violence in the West Bank and for backing the expansion of Jewish settlements in the occupied territory. Protests broke out in some Libyan cities after news of meeting between foreign ministers of Israel and of Libya.
Libyan Foreign Minister Nakhla al-Mangush has been temporarily suspended and will be subject to an administrative investigation by a commission chaired by the Justice Minister. The Libyan Foreign Ministry described it as a chance and unofficial encounter, but news of the meeting had already led to street protests in several Libyan cities. The political row broke out after Israel's foreign ministry said the two countries' foreign ministers had met the previous week. The statement said Israeli Foreign Minister Eli Cohen and Mangush spoke at a meeting in Rome hosted by Italian Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani. The Israeli statement described it as the first such diplomatic initiative between the two countries. News of the meeting had sparked protests in some Libyan cities and a letter from the country's presidential council requesting clarification. The Libyan Foreign Ministry accused Israel of trying to present this incident as a meeting on talks. In the Israel Foreign Ministry statement, Cohen was quoted as saying that the two discussed the importance of preserving the heritage of Libyan Jews, which includes renovating synagogues and Jewish cemeteries in the country. On the streets of Tripoli and its suburbs, protests erupted on Sunday evening in a sign of refusal of normalization with Israel. The protests spread to other cities where young people blocked roads, burned tires and waved the Palestinian flag. Like several other North African countries, Libya has a rich Jewish heritage, but during decades of rule by former Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi, who was a strong supporter of the Palestinian cause, thousands of Jews were expelled from Libya and many synagogues were destroyed. Gaddafi was overthrown and killed in 2011 by a NATO-backed uprising that plunged the country into more than a decade of chaos and lawlessness. The country is split politically with rival administrators, the Tripoli government in the west and another in the east, backed by military strongman Khalifa Haftar. Israel has normalized relations with some Arab countries in recent years as part of US-backed deals known as the Abraham Accords. However, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's hardline government has come under intense criticism from Arab states because of surging violence in the West Bank and for backing the expansion of Jewish settlements in the occupied territory.
Now, Zimbabwe's opposition leader Nelson Chamisa has contested the official re-election of President Emmerson Mnangagwa and claimed victory in an election which international observers said fell short of democratic standards. Mnangagwa won a second term with 52.6% against 44% for his main challenger, Chamisa, according to the official results announced by the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission. We have more of this.
The opposition Citizens Coalition for Change refused to ratify the results, asserting that they were false. Zimbabweans voted on Wednesday and Thursday for a president, a new parliament, in polling marred by delays that sparked opposition accusations of rigging and voter suppression. At the presidential palace, Mnangagwa challenged those who contested his re-election to go to court. The UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres voiced concern on Thursday about the arrest of observers, reports of voter intimidation, threats of violence, harassment and coercion. Guterres issued a statement urging all sides to peacefully settle any disputes through established legal and institutional channels and resolve disputes in a fair, expeditious and transparent manner to ensure that the results are a true reflection of the will of the people. Foreign monitors announced Friday that the elections had failed to conform to regional and international standards. Observer missions from the European Union, the Commonwealth, and the 16-nation Southern African Development Community listed a number of concerns, including the banning of opposition rallies, issues with the voter registration rolls, biased state media coverage, and voter intimidation. In the streets of Harare, some people expressed their disillusionment.
Here, we're expecting change, development within the country, and economic stability.
Marzauzi, and Sanda Maona, unfortunately, I was offline. Tinogamuchira zviripo because ndozvakabuda musarudzo ndozvinodiwa nevazhinji. Isusu totofarira zvadiwa nevazhinji. Hatingafariri zvinodiwa nevashoma, zvadiwa nevazhinji ndozvatongoteverawo.
A former British colony, Zimbabwe gained independence in 1980 after a long guerrilla war. But under Mugabe, its first leader, the fledgling democracy spiraled into hardline rule and economic decline, with hyperinflation wiping out savings and deterring investment. The opposition had hoped to ride a wave of discontent over corruption, rising prices, unemployment, and entrenched poverty.
Away from Zimbabwe, let's head over now to the U.S., where Donald Trump's presidential campaign says it has now raised $7.1 million since the Republican billionaire's mugshot was released after he was booked on racketeering and conspiracy charges at a Georgia jail this week. The campaign had quickly embraced the scrolling image of the former president as the symbol of his bid to take back the White House come 2024.
Donald Trump surrendered in Georgia on charges of plotting to overturn the state's 2020 election results in an arrest that saw the first ever mugshot of a former U.S. president. Trump had to pay a bail bond of $200,000 to be released from the Atlanta jail while he awaits trial. Afterwards, he described the case as a travesty of justice. It was his fourth arrest in 5 months in a criminal case, but this was his first police booking photo. Trump argues that the cases against him are politically motivated because he is leading the Republican race to challenge President Joe Biden, a Democrat, in next year's presidential election. Trump later posted on X, formerly known as Twitter, for the first time since January 2021. He shared the address of his website and the mugshot with an all-capital letters caption, "Election interference, never surrender." Now, Donald Trump's presidential campaign team says it has raised $7.1 million since the Republican billionaire's mugshot was released after he was booked on racketeering and conspiracy charges at a Georgia jail this week. The campaign had quickly embraced the scowling image of the former president as a symbol of his bid to take back the White House in 2024. T-shirts, mugs, stickers, and beverage coolers bearing the mugshot were put out by Trump's team within hours of the photo's release. Notably absent from the merchandise is the local sheriff's badge watermark that appeared in the image released by authorities. While such a photo would surely sink any other political candidate, for the 77-year-old Trump, it plays into his narrative of a defiant, heroic victim. Marketing experts have even likened it to the hope poster from Barack Obama's successful 2008 presidential campaign. Democrats have also used it, however, suggesting that it shows no one is above the law. As for Biden, he shrugged it off in comments to reporters on Friday, quipping, "I did see it on television. Handsome guy."
And that's all the international news we had for you this afternoon. We'll be back again tomorrow at 4 p.m. Thank you for watching and do have yourselves a good afternoon.